Let's head over to Tuscaloosa. I mean, a rabid fan base, a fan base that is absolutely furious, a team that's furious with their loss to Vanderbilt last week. And both these teams, South Carolina and Alabama, are coming off kind of gut wrenching losses in a different way. Alabama being to a team that you were, 20 plus point favorite against, and South Carolina just getting kind of manhandled, and their offense continuing to stink. And for an offensive line that I thought was going to improve over the season, I mean, South Carolina's given up 22 sacks in the year, which is last in college football. Granted, some teams have had buys, and I think there's some teams with a higher sack rate. But man, for a team that runs the ball quite frequently too, to have 22 sacks is quite a lot. It's quite a lot given up. So Alabama, I think this is a 21-point spread, which is what we're picking this game at. And obviously none of these spreads that we pick here are we bet on. Well, some of them we do, but so just to pick this game, obviously I'm taking Alabama to win. Okay, they're going to get right here, but I got to take them also to cover here too. I mean, South Carolina, I like them in their matchup against certain teams. Okay, I think Jalen Monroe is too good of an athlete, right? And I also think this Alabama defense, the front seven, I still think it's fine, and I still think I don't know. There were a lot of concerns coming out of that Vanderbilt game, but I also got to just credit the coaching staff. There's a couple games like that that happen to Alabama every so often, every few years, I would say. I look at 2021 Texas A&M, a team that went 7-5, where Zach Calzada threw for 300 yards. Okay, like they just got out coached that game, out schemed. You look at South Carolina and was it 2010? Steven Garcia. I mean, just got out schemed in that game. Like Bo
Auburn
Wallace,
a couple times.
Auburn a couple times. Yeah, even on the
Ole
fourth
Miss.
and
Hugh Freeze
31.
that in.
So yeah, Hugh Freeze out schemed Bama twice. I mean, it happens. Okay, I just don't see that happening with this South Carolina team. I think Bama gets right. I think they're pissed. I think they're going to send a message here, and they get them at home. I think it'd be a little bit different if you're playing in Williams-Brice, but it'll be interesting to see though how Jalen Milroe responds. He's been better about not taking sacks this season, but if he tries to do too much, the athleticism of the South Carolina defensive line could get the better of him and put Alabama behind the chains. And South Carolina, I don't have their explosive stat number in front of me, but I don't think they're super prone to the explosive play. I'm sure someone in the comments is going to be here to correct me on that, but Alabama's kind of relied on this explosive play and haven't been able to sustain drives. They get back in the chains and they can't generate explosive plays with Ryan Williams on the field. I could see a situation where South Carolina makes this a close game. I think Alabama could win this game like Ole Miss did, 27-3. Now I think Ole Miss's defense is a little bit better than Alabama's defense, but again, I think that Vanderbilt game was more of an outlier than the actual truth to this Alabama team.
Yeah, yes. And the Alabama, by the way, their offense was not really the problem. Yes, those 2 turnovers absolutely killed you, but also you gave up 40 points to Vanderbilt. You talk about getting out schemed. Absolutely. Vanderbilt had a strategy. Vanderbilt had an identity that they stuck to and that they executed very, very well. I wonder if they were saving that for this game. Can Dowell Loggins do that? And can this South Carolina team, who we think has probably better wide receivers than Vanderbilt, can they take advantage of it? And it's going to be up, obviously, to the North Sellers and the South Carolina team. Both teams, by the way, much, much better playing with a lead, like significantly better, I think, offensively, at least. Alabama's secondary, yes, very, very concerning. But again, oh man, I don't know if I can take South Carolina to do that for 4 quarters and to put it on Sellers. I think Bam's defense especially is going to come out and just be furious. It's interesting. It's kind of a shame 2 straight weeks now for South Carolina that we had kind of pictured of like, hey, with certain right things going on here, these might be trap games for Ole Miss and for Alabama, right? And 2 straight weeks now, Ole Miss lost to Kentucky the week prior and kind of woke up. And then Alabama lost to Vanderbilt. And we'll see if they kind of wake up. Kind of tough, morale and just dynamics of the schedule for South Carolina to see that happen to your opponent 2 straight weeks now. Yeah, I think Bama gets right. I think they run the ball well. I think they try to establish that because it's it's been a little bit concerning. I know the offense has not been the problem, right? You scored 41 against Bama, or against Georgia, excuse me. You scored 35 against Vanderbilt. But again, if you want to like not salt away leads, or you want to prevent yourself from turning the ball over in key spots, running the ball is a very important thing to be able to do that. 84 rush yards, and a lot of that was game script. I get that against Vanderbilt, but I just don't see it happening here for South Carolina. Bama gets right. I wonder how the atmosphere is going to be. Right, it's in Bryant Denny.
Yeah,
Obviously, 11 a.m. start. Obviously, very, very upset fan base. I mean, if you saw anything about Paul Feinbaum and Legend and everyone else going off about Alabama, it's justified for sure. And in a situation this program has not been in a while, yeah, it'll be really interesting to see not only the identity and the makeup of this Bama roster and the coaching staff, but also the fans as well.
I think in order for South Carolina to cover this game, and I'm not saying win because I think they got to do a lot more than just this to win the football game. But now mentioning explosive plays, I mean South Carolina's had issues in the secondary tackling. Okay, you got to bring down Brian Williams. You got to bring down Jeremy Bernard. You got to bring those guys to the ground,
And
right?
Milroe too.
Yeah, and Monroe, right?
When he
Like the
gets to the second
secondary
and third lever.
has had issues tackling. So clean it up, and I think you got a chance to cover this game, bring yourself within 3 touchdowns, and then I think you need explosive plays. In the LSU game, you saw and I don't want to say that South Carolina shouldn't have won that game because they should have because of that stupid penalty that was called, but the reality is too South Carolina had a couple of huge explosive run plays that kept them in that football game late, and they kind of relied on that as their offense as well as the turnovers. So if Bama turns the ball over and South Carolina finds ways to make explosive plays the way the Vanderbilt did, and South Carolina can absolutely, I mean, they can win this game. They could. I know it's a 21-point game. We're talking about like they can't possibly win this game, but they can. I just believe that more times than not, Alabama wins and covers in this game, and I believe you feel the same way.